What's up, guys? This is Tyler from One Glance Ministries in the DRT coming at you with a new video about getting access. Many of us have ran into the problem of wondering how we're going to get access if God tells us to do something and then man stands in our way. We wonder what to do, how to work it out. I'll tell you what, back in the day when we began to start praying for people that had died, one thing that we learned was that God would give us access into any situation because we were walking in His will. Even to the point where our team, I was given a card by the state of Washington from the emergency services that allowed me into any situation. 9/11 could happen in my hometown, and I'd be able to go to ground zero and do whatever I needed to do. We got a card that had a stamp with the Washington state seal on it. And so God has a way of giving us access, bringing access to us in situations because He's the one that holds all the keys. Even if man stands against us, the enemy stands against us, God has a way of getting us into those situations and making things happen. I want to tell you guys a quick story about a different time God gave me access into an impossible situation. A car accident when there's the yellow tape with the caution tape there, that's one thing. But this situation, in all respects, was impossible. I shouldn't have been able to do this, but I did. I was living in LA at the time, and the band POD, a Christian band, was kind of on the stage of humanity. A lot of people knew who they were, and they were playing at a massive rock concert down the road from where I was at. It was going to be with bands like Sum 41 and System of a Down, different bands that in many regards are anything but Christian, right? Anything but having value for the kingdom of God. And I wanted to go to this concert not only to see POD, but I felt this thing in my heart that I wanted to go there to pray for them and pray that the impact of that concert would be significant, that something cool would happen for the people there in the crowd, and that POD themselves would be encouraged and strengthened. And so I went online to buy the tickets the day they went on sale, and no luck. Within 8 seconds or so, thousands of tickets had sold out. So I got a little discouraged, and I felt like the Lord said, no, don't worry about it, just go in faith. So I went to Universal Studios, which is where they were going to have at their amphitheater there in LA. That's where they're going to have the show. And I got there, and there was no way into the amphitheater. It was all locked up. It was all tickets only. So I went over to Universal Studios side. They have like an area where you can walk around. It's kind of like a mall. And I just began walking around and praying. And pretty soon I met a security guard, and he became my friend. I just told him straight up what I wanted to do, how I wanted to pray for these guys at the concert. I don't know if he was a believer or not, but he showed me a back way through Universal Studios over to the amphitheater and got me as close as he could. I wasn't past the line, that you needed to be in with tickets. They were still going to check for tickets, but now I'm behind the amphitheater, and I can see the amphitheater, and I can hear the concert beginning to start. POD's not on stage yet, but I can hear it starting. And I remember looking down at this backside entrance and seeing large buses pulling up, nice buses, and bands coming out of the buses and walking through metal detectors into the back of the stage area. And I remember thinking, this is crazy. Somehow I got to the parking lot where the bands get dropped off. So I just felt like the Lord said, go for it. So I walked down these steps down to where these metal detectors were, and right when I walked up, a car pulled up, and 4 guys got out of the car. And lo and behold, I couldn't believe it, but it was POD. And I just walked right up to him and said, what's up, you guys? I'm so glad you're here. They gave me 5, gave me some hugs. And I said, is there any way I can get in? They said, dude, we can't even get our families into this show. We don't have any extra tickets. We would love for you to get in there, but we have no way to do it. I said, hey, no worries, no worries. And it was just awesome to meet them. I got to say hi to my heroes, And so they walked in through the metal detectors, and I stood there and watched a few other bands come in and walk through the metal detectors, and I didn't know what to do, and I just prayed, and I just felt like the Lord said, go for it. So I walk in where the bands are going, and I go through one of the metal detectors, and I go through the second metal detector, and the guys are waving the wand over me and everything, and I'm not a part of a band. I don't have any formal identification or anything, and I walk into the backstage party for the bands. There's Sum 41, there's System of a Down, they were totally stoned. There's POD over here, everybody's hanging out, there's loud music playing in the back. There's monitors around showing what's going on stage, and I cannot believe it, but I'm in the backstage party. I'm not only am I going to go to the concert, but I made it into the backstage party with the bands. I'm just there hanging out, praying, right? I'm just sitting there at this backstage party watching these people that have massive influence on the world, and I'm sitting there praying for them. Finally, at one point, I see POD get up and they walk off, and I can hear them. They're starting to play. And so I said, Lord, the backstage party's awesome, but I need to get in where the concert's at. The only problem is that there's a security guard at the bottom of some stairs I need to go up, and then there's another security guard at the top, and then that goes right out onto the stage where they're at, okay? So I just, in faith again, began to walk towards the stairs, and as I walked towards the stairs, a group of people came off the stage through the top door and came down the stairs, and right as I went by the first guard at the bottom of the stairs, they cut in between me and the guard, and he couldn't get to me. So I walked up the stairs, and I got up to the top stairs. I didn't know what to do at the moment, so I had my school ID. It had my picture on it with a barcode. I had it. I pulled it out of my pocket, and I I held it up to the security guard. And as I held it up, I just spoke gibberish to him. I just said, "Surname come around it on Friday?" And I just made some sounds and held it up really authoritatively, like I acted very confident. And he just looked at me kind of bewildered, not understanding what I'm saying. And I just walked right past him. And I walk out, and there are all the lights, and there's POD on the stage, and I can't believe it. I made it into this show. I got access. So I walk out into the crowd. I get where everyone else is at. I watch the show, I pray for POD, I pray for System of a Down, I have a total blast, and I go home that night. The bottom line is God gives you access into impossible situations. There may be situations where you're sure. It just feels like there's no way into it. There's no way to bring about the thing that God put on your heart. You don't know how logically the practical situation is going to pan out. But I just want to tell you guys, take a risk, step out. Sometimes it just means walking forward. Silver and gold I don't have for you, but what I do have, get up. It doesn't say that he was healed when he said it. It says that he was healed when Peter reached out his hand and, act of faith, pulled the guy up off the ground. It was an act of faith that did it. And sometimes that looks like just moving forward. Sometimes that looks like just walking into the situation, not knowing that there's going to be a crowd that comes in between you and the security guard, not knowing what you're going to do when you hold up your ID pass, but just speaking gibberish, not knowing how you're going to make it through the metal detectors or the guys with the wands, not knowing how you're not going to get found out or how you're going to get through the situation, how it's going to pan out. None of that is your concern. God says that when you stand in places of influence, He'll give you the words, that He'll fill your mouth, He'll give you the right words. For me, it sounded like gibberish. He will make a way for you. God's people were backed up against the sea, and the Egyptians were coming, and God made a way for them. He gave them access out of the place they were in into a new place. So God will make a way for you. He'll do things that you could never even ask, think, or imagine. Things that you couldn't come up with in your brain, He will execute in your life. You guys be blessed. Have an awesome day.